beauty. When I moved to York, for the first time in my life, I met people who had never seen a Jew before and didn't know maybe what a Jew was. So actually a boy said to me, I don't understand. I don't understand how you can believe in something that can't be proven. And I was like, everyone has to believe in something. And for me, it's the Holocaust. I do. I believe in the Holocaust, which is why when my grandmother told me that she wanted to be cremated, I said, I know. I said, that's messed up. And then my grandma gave me her reason for wanting to be cremated. She said, Geneva, I've been working since I was 5. I lied about my age to get my first job. I was retired for 10 minutes and I was sick from the boredom. If I'm underground, I'll have nothing to do. But in an urn, I can still find work as a paperweight, or a piece of interior design. And it is my grandmother's dying wish that she be used after death in a doctor's office or a law firm. And so the only way her soul will be able to find peace when she is gone is if one of her grandchildren becomes a doctor or a lawyer and takes her to work with them in their office. And now I study theater. So that's it for that joke, really. I told that joke at the Jewish comedy competition to an audience of Jews, and it did get a laugh, thank fuck, right? There was a man in the back who couldn't hear anything, like, since forever. He only sat in the back out of masochism, really. He shouted to the audience, because shouting at me would have been rude. Right? He said, what did she say? And this woman in the front turned around, and she said, her grandmother is another Jew, burned for no reason. Yeah. So he took his hearing aid out, closed his eyes and crossed his arms, and I realized I was being heckled by the silent treatment. Super Jewish, right? So I looked at this guy and I was like, who does he think he is that his silence should hurt me? Like, why is he here? How can he judge me on what that one woman said? Fuck him. And it really threw me off for the rest of the set, and I think if that hadn't happened, then maybe I would have won. But it did. I didn't. I FaceTime my grandparents every Friday night because I think it's important to do something fun on Friday nights. FaceTime my grandparents. Really just my grandma, she talks. My granddad sits in the back and waves. And one time she turned around and said, okay, now you say something. And he said, yes, dear. And she said, that's enough. Yeah. I went to Israel when I was 16 to find God. Because that's like his main hangout. So I went into the desert and I sat on a mound of sand and I waited for the sun to rise. And I listened to the sound of silence, which sounds a lot like the wind and breathing and guilt. And just before the sun rose in the east, I saw a figure in the distance that was glowing around the edges. And he had a mug, and he was doing stretches for rheumatoid arthritis. And I knew in my heart that that was God. And I'm not bragging or being cocky or anything, but he looked right at me. And then he went to work. So that was great. My mom, she's a teacher in the United States, so she makes minimum wage with tips. And my brother and I, well, there's not a lot of extra money around the house. So we didn't play with toys, we played with words. We were raised Reformed Jews, so we didn't keep strictly kosher. We just ate holy foods when we could. Like bagels. Donuts. Swiss cheese. Holy food. Yeah. When I moved to England, I loved all the new words that I learned. I love wanker, I love Ellen, I love bollocks. I love bollocks. It makes me really excited when I say bollocks. I say that, but I am trying to cut back on swearing, because I do have a crush at the minute, and he's a lot classier than I am, actually. He's the classy type. So like when we're at home, he'll blow his nose with a tissue instead of doing this. And when we go out and pick up takeaway, he'll wait to get home before he starts eating. So usually he ends up eating by himself. When we get in. And he heats up leftovers. So that means he can stop eating when he's full. I'm cutting back on swearing. I'm cutting back on smoking. I smoke and I swear a lot, so some people might call me cool. I wasn't always cool though. I know it's hard. I remember in nursery there's a sandbox. I was a precocious Jew. I think that's the best way to put it. There's a sandbox, and the other kids would play in the sand, you know, and I would be the Jew in the sand, just wondering. Good. In high school, there was a sort of a social hierarchy. So there were certain people I wasn't supposed to talk to. And I think that's actually why I got interested in comedy, because I figured if I could make them laugh, then our differences wouldn't matter. So I was in math class, and I was sitting next to a boy named Russell. He was a lot cooler than I was, but Jews are always stepping out of their place. So I was like, I'll try to make him laugh. So I said, Russell, if I had a pube for every time that I farted, we can tell Cameron.
Where is this going?
I have a plan, like I've written. I have it set up in a punchline. So I said, if I had a pube for every time that I farted, I could be a mascot. He didn't think it was funny. He didn't laugh. Actually, he was very patronizing. He said, "Wow, you're hilarious. You should be a comedian." So here we are. And I've written some jokes for Russell, actually. They're the first jokes I ever wrote, so I want to share them with you. Russell walks into a bar. The bartender asks him what he would like to drink. Russell says, "Wow, you're so curious. You should be a journalist." And then he wasn't served any drinks that night because the bartender thought he was an asshole. Russell's Facebook profile picture was taken down, and he wanted to know why. Administration told him it was reported for nudity because he looked too much like a dick. Russell is like a 10-second pop quiz. Even if he's hard, he's still not that long.